I'm making this video to list, the questions that normally I'm asked. It's very difficult for me to get through. I've seen a ton of doctors. Typically, I'm dismissed or not listened to, and I am slow at times and not very clear. Especially if I'm having a rough day, and I can pass over really vital things. So I'm just going to do the video and try to simplify it. A lot of these symptoms I've had ongoing since I was about 12 years old, except for, the issues I had with urinary tract malformation and infections. I had those from birth. But as far as this, incredible length of decline, began when I started receiving Cipro treatments at 12 years old. I received regular treatments of Cipro from that point forward and continued to decline. So I have headaches, migraines. They can last 3 to 10 days. I have, from my nose up the top of my head, a pressure headache that at times it feels like someone is sitting on my head. My jaw pops a lot, and it freezes in certain, I guess, positions or something, especially when I try to sleep or rest. It becomes very rigid and in a fixed, awkward position. I've had a ton of dental problems, regardless of what I do, over the years, and I can only chew certain foods now. The right side of my face is now completely gone. When I was younger, you could see it fading in pictures, but you could not, it was functional. After my first dose of Levaquin is when I had a full episode of paralysis on that whole side of my body, and at the time they thought it was a stroke. I also developed a large amount of chorea at the time, which the neurologist I saw tested me for Huntington's disease due to that. I have a lot of ringing in my ears. There's a lot of pain in my left ear all the time. I'm very, very sensitive to sound. It very even sounds that people don't seem to pick up on. I can hear them, and they I tend to get very agitated by it. I have blurry and bouncy vision. As far as digestive issues, I have difficulty swallowing food. I have a lot of difficulty off and on swallowing foods, and when I would have really bad periods of time, I would be unable to eat solid food at all. I would not be able to get anything down. And throughout the years, I always was plagued with massive gastrointestinal issues, taken to the hospital on numerous occasions. It was always chalked up to the fact that I'm a woman and apparently stressed and hysterical. So somatoform and psychiatric mental health diagnoses were what followed me for many, many years. But when I'm unable, I have nausea 24/7. I've always had a ton of nausea. After Levaquin, however, I was unable to keep from vomiting constantly. And I would, when I would try to eat, I would vomit up solid food. I would have no appetite, and I would, at one point, it would be where I did not even need food or something to trigger vomiting, and I would just dry heave. There's a spasm that happens in my chest, and it happens when I eat a lot. It's like that. It's a involuntary kind of releasing of air up through my diaphragm. It forces its way out and it makes an involuntary sound. Happens more when I eat something that I'm particularly sensitive to, which I've been able to narrow things down quite a bit. After taking Levaquin also, I was in a full state of like paralysis in my bowels. I was unable to go to the restroom for weeks at a time. I had a hernia in my diaphragm poke out. I was able to push it back in and look for a couple of things to try and help me out a bit. I still deal with a lot of pressure there, but the pain has subsided and I'm able to lift light things now, whereas before I was unable to. I also have a different kinds of chest pain. I have another kind of tightness in my chest at times, especially when I'm very triggered. I have a lot of episodes where my heart rhythm becomes different, I don't know, unusual. It feels like butterflies are in my heart. My heart will kind of flip-flop around. And I have difficulty breathing during those times. But let's see. I'll get numbness traveling, numbness in my arms and my neck. But my arms, legs, and hands and feet fall asleep all the time. Let's see. Everything pops on me. For years my neck has been popping. My fingers pop, but they kind of come dislocated a little bit. Sometimes there's, I think, 2 of them now. When my shoulders, my arms, legs, hips, especially when I try to do a lot of walking, my hips will begin popping quite a bit. And I have a spot on my back that feels like red fire ants marching on it. Sometimes it'll break out in a rash. I have different kinds of rashes. My skin is discolored on my face. It's been like that for a long time. And I have, a couple of like really like little holes on my skin, one on my chest and one on my arm. The spot on my back is extremely painful. It feels, at times it'll feel electric, like electric currents, which I do try to get when I walk quite a bit. I feel like there's electric currents that become painful that come up through my legs and go throughout my body. My feet feel like they swell up with water or fluid, and so walking for long distances without frequent breaks is very painful. I have a lot of tendon pain. I used to be able to see my tendons vibrating, popping out and vibrating. I have to navigate stairs differently whenever I'm very stiff. And I have a lot of bone pain. It's a lot of pain constantly. That's been happening for absolute, probably actually since I was in my early teens, was an extremely elevated level of pain, physical pain. It's also hard for me to sit or lay, especially in one position. I have issue with sitting on my tailbone. It's very painful. I have to put my hands underneath my backside so that I can relieve the pressure on my tailbone. So I tend to do a lot of pacing so that I can keep from sitting too much and getting into too much pain. directly after taking Levaquin, I was unable to speak. I had a lot of stuttering. I was able to learn to control the muscles, to communicate again. But reading, writing, talking all require an immense amount of energy from me, and I become greatly fatigued. And of course, the tendon pain makes writing very difficult, and my vision at times can make reading very difficult, along with cognitive issues. I have a lot of fogginess. I've had massive episodes of amnesia over the years that have been classified as psychiatric. I've had hallucinations. I've had a massive amount of depression and difficulty with impulse control. One of the most difficult things with impulse control I struggled with over the years was suicide ideation. I made suicide attempts. I would try to tell my doctors that I did not feel suicidal, but there was some kind of impulsiveness, an intrusion of suicidal thoughts and actions. And I spent a lot of time trying just to keep from killing myself. It's difficult for me to communicate with people, to be able to get everything out that I need. When I'm trying to speak, I get frozen and slow, and it becomes very frustrating. Have a lot of difficulty with concentrating, getting through small tasks. Even something like filling out an application can take me an extended period of time, and I have to do certain things to manage myself, alarms, things like that, because I have the information available. It's there. I just cannot seem to get to it. These are a little bit different than the issues I had with, like, when I try to sleep, and I have had this off and on, where I hear everything that's going on around me, but my body becomes unable to function. This actually happened to me in the bathtub one time, and I was nervous that I was not going to be able to use my body to get up and turn the water off, and it took me a great deal of effort to be able to do that. That fogginess, cloudiness is, especially when I'm fatigued, can become very great, and I will wander around. I will not, it takes me a while to figure out what's going on and where my vehicle is, or where I'm going, what I'm doing. My body temperature regulation is very difficult. My hands and feet especially get very, very cold. I have to usually kind of manually warm them up. And it's difficult for me to tolerate the sun for an extended period of time. All of those things seem to fatigue me greatly. I constantly feel like I have a fever, which I don't, or, like the flu, a cold. My muscle wasting has been very serious. I don't have muscle left. I've lost it throughout my body. I've been trying hard to do what I can to maintain, if there is anything left, what I have, and stay active. I'm grateful for your consideration.